Greetings, members of both Team Cap and Team Iron Man, and welcome to my spoiler-free Captain America Civil War review. Directed by the Russo brothers and written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, it stars Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Sebastian Stan, Don Cheadle, Anthony Mackie, Jeremy Renner, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Chadwick Boseman, Paul Rudd, and Tom Holland. So this movie deals with the consequences of everything big that's happened in the MCU so far. New York in the first Avengers, Washington DC in Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Sokovia in Avengers Age of Ultron. The Avengers have to deal with the fact that they are offered a contract signing that will have them work for the government and only doing missions that the government sends them out to do. This divides the Avengers into two teams, of course, Team Cap and Team Iron Man. And there are also a few exterior factors and characters that come into play. And I am truly amazed with this movie. First of all, Chris Evans, this guy from the first Captain America movie, he has grown so much as an actor. It is hard to see how this guy was when he was first announced as Captain America to now. From this day on, I can't see anyone else ever playing Steve Rogers again. Everything this character does, thinks, or says from the minute this movie starts to the minute it ends, it is true to the character of Steve Rogers / Captain America, and it's so well put into the story. Everything he deals with, every decision he has to make, whatever happens in this movie to Steve Rogers, it is truly magnificent how they worked and wrote this character. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, what can I say? This guy was born to play this role. Just like Steve Rogers, everything this character does in this movie, it is so well done. It is so Tony Stark of him to do so. These two characters coming to head, you understand both their sides. I went to this movie rooting for Team Cap, and I came out of this movie still rooting for Team Cap, but they completely made me understand why Tony Stark would make the decisions he did, would do what he does in this movie, and why the ones backing him up would do so. You think this movie is about the Civil War and the Sokovia contracts and the consequences of their actions in the movies before, but it gets to be so much more personal than that. These guys are dealing with real drama, things that we can identify with and understand how we would act in the situation these two characters are in. Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier. It is truly integral that you watch the Winter Soldier before this movie, but without getting into that, this character was truly spectacular in this movie, and Sebastian Stan has a great performance. The fact of the Winter Soldier being in this movie truly is much more important than it seems in the trailers. His story is truly so interesting as a subplot to this movie. Not only is it interesting and dynamic, and it is fun to investigate what is going on with him, but it never actually overshadows the main plot of this movie, which it actually interwovens with. How the other characters relate with the Winter Soldier is so well done. It gives so much character development and so much depth to this man, Bucky Barnes. It is truly mesmerizing. His relationship with Tony Stark in this movie, it is truly great to see. Also his relationship with Steve Rogers, the man who's trying to bring him back, to restore his memories, to understand what he went through, and he's trying to understand as well Vision and Scarlet Witch. For those of you who have read the comics, you know what these two guys evolve into eventually, and it's great to see their relationship kind of grow into this movie. These two guys discuss so many things, and you understand how they got to this point in their relationship from Avengers Age of Ultron, and it's really intriguing how they will go on from here. Paul Bettany gave a great performance, much better than in Age of Ultron, and he was already great in that. Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, you also understand what she's dealing with and the drama inside her. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, she shined so much brighter than I thought she would. She was so great in this movie. Her struggle with the decision she has to make, which team to join, and the decision she eventually makes, it's completely understandable. But what's really important for her and for her character development in this movie is that her biggest struggle, as it should be for the Black Widow character, is with herself. Chadwick Boseman, if you saw my Gods of Egypt review, you know how much I hated him in that movie. But here, he brought Black Panther to life. from the first scene he's in to the last, this guy is a true badass, and his character development is impeccable. You immediately love this guy, and you will wish that you go out of Civil War into a room that is screening the Black Panther movie. And the way this movie ends, it's really intriguing if they will make the Black Panther movie before the events of Civil War or after. Anthony Mackie and Don Cheadle, the two best buddies to our main heroes, Captain America and Iron Man, I thought they were great as well. You see them standing by their friends, side by side till the end, and how they end looking at the other team's captain and their perspective on the whole world and on being an Avenger is truly mesmerizing how the character development worked so well for everyone in this movie. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, his first scene is completely, absolutely hilarious. I loved him from the second he entered this movie, right after Ant-Man. He worked really well for the comedy aspect of this movie, and he came into the movie a little bit late than I thought, but when he came out, I thought it was a perfect timing for him to come, thinking back at how the movie worked and how the movie flowed. Clint Barton, Hawkeye, he came into the movie a little bit late than I wished. I wished he had been there before when he actually came in, but you understand why he was out, and it's great development for the character as well. Let's talk about the action in this movie, because the action is the best action in the MCU so far, and probably, and I'm not even joking, my second favorite action movie of all time, if you want to put it in that category. Trust me when I tell you, my friends, that the trailers did not spoil you one bit with that airport fight scene. The teams charging at each other, everything happens after that, and you know how the trailers ended with that always. You see all these teams fighting each other, and then some individual fights, one-on-one, mano-y-mano. I'm not going to spoil who fights who, because I will talk about that in the spoilers review coming in the near future. You will love how they shot this, how the camera flows through every single fight, who fights who. It's so vibrant, so unique, so enthusiastic. The action in this movie is mesmerizing to look at. Everyone has different levels of seriousness and different levels of banter during this fight, and everyone fights everyone to a point, and there are some major things happening in this fight. The action sequences in this movie truly are amazing. This movie starts with an action sequence, and it basically ends with an action sequence. And the action in this movie is also very visually violent. The way they shot people getting explosions all over them and falling from buildings or whatnot, the way they shot it, the way the sound works in this movie truly is actually way more violent than I thought. And there is also a lot of swearing, more than in other MCU movies so far. This was almost a shit away from being Daredevil / Jessica Jones in terms of swearing. Yes, I know what you all want to know. Spider-Man. Is he great? No, he's not great. He is the one quintessential Spider-Man in movie history. In his first scene, which is about 5 minutes, they nail Spider-Man better than 5 movies from Sony in the last 14 years. That is how great Spider-Man is, and that is how great Tom Holland portrays him. The way he leaves this movie will leave you wanting more, and that is great for this character, and it's truly organic how that will go into Spider-Man Homecoming. The story in this movie takes so many twists and turns, and it actually has a hint and an element of sophistication and intellectuality in it. I think it's one of the best MCU scripts, and one of the most elevated so far. There was only one thing in this movie that left me a little bit disappointed, and that was Baron Zemo, and that is only because of my love for this character. I love Baron Zemo. He was greatly played by Daniel Bruhl, and his motivations are understandable. You can see why this character does what he does, and his interest in doing what he's doing. I'm not going to spoil you. But actually, when his whole plan is revealed, it actually leaves no consequence, almost. And when he reveals what his intents were, which is almost at the end of the movie, it's actually like they shoehorned that into the script to say, oh, by the way, this is why. And that kind of left me a little bit disappointed, more like shaking my shoulders, thinking whatever. But the way they leave the character in this movie makes me think that they could redeem themselves in the future. Guys, I will absolutely tell you, aside that aspect, what I just told you of the villain in this movie was meh. Everything worked perfectly for me in this this movie. This is the true crux of the MCU, and after watching this movie, I can't see in my mind where they will start Infinity Wars at. The script was spectacular, the acting was a class act, every character is brought to life tremendously in a way I've never seen before, and we know how great the MCU has been so far. No one felt shoehorned into this movie, everything flowed beautifully, the story, the characters, the decisions they make, the action pieces were mind-blowing, and I can't wait to watch this movie again. And I absolutely give Captain America Civil War a kneel before me. My friends from the United States, I know you're only getting this movie next week, so let me know what are you most excited about to see in this movie, what are your expectations, and to my friends from Portugal and other territories in which this movie already came out, what did you think of Captain America Civil War? If anyone wants to talk spoilers, this is not the time, but as long as you leave a spoiler tag in caps in the comments, I will converse with you about spoilers from this movie. There's links for my Facebook and Instagram in the description below. There's also a link for themoderngaffa.com. Everything Saturday morning is on that website, and there's a little subscribe button down here for you if you haven't subscribed. Give this video a like, and I'll leave you a link to my previous video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I want to know all your thoughts on Captain America Civil War, both before you watch it and after you watch it. Let me know in the comments below. As I said before, there's a link for my previous video right here, and I'll see you guys in my Civil War Q&A, and after that, my Civil War spoilers review. Cheers.